You ever buy a piece of land just to get away from people? Really get away? And then trouble finds you anyway? Yeah, that's my luck. I thought 12 acres of Colorado foothills would finally buy me some peace, but I should have known peace is always temporary. First sign it was over? The day she showed up, Karen's written. Clipboard, platinum bob, pressed white polo, and a smile so tight it looked like it hurt. She strolled up my drive like she was inspecting produce at Whole Foods, didn't even glance at the no trespassing signs nailed to every pine. Hi there. You must be the new owner. She chirped, hand extended. I didn't take it. She introduced herself as HOA president, tried to talk aesthetics and community cohesion. I told her plain and simple, my land wasn't in her HOA. She gave me that look, the one folks like her save for dog mess on white carpet. Oh, I understand, she said, but I could already see her making a checklist in her head. I'd spent my life in internal affairs, 15 years investigating everyone from beat cops to brass, so I know a warning shot when I hear one. First came the letters. Polite at first, then less so. Complaints about my flag, the old F-250, my tools hanging under the barn eave. Every line dripped with passive aggression. We kindly request this, please review, that, all signed with her fancy HOA crest. She even sent evidence photos, blurry zooms of my trucks and grill, probably snapped from behind a bush. I filed them under harassment, phase 1. When she realized I wasn't going to play nice, things got weirder. Anonymous complaints to the county. Health department inspector turned up one morning, clipboard in hand, sweating through his shirt. Got a tip about hazardous runoff and improper waste storage. I invited him in, handed him coffee, showed him my code-compliant drums, gravel filtration, everything tight. He left a little red-faced, told me, there's always one HOA. Queen with too much time. You know what I mean? But Karen wouldn't quit. Next, she tried the legal route. Letters from some made-up visual alignment committee threatening mandatory arbitration. I laughed, mailed her copies of my deed, survey, and a notarized cease and desist. And when a couple black SUVs parked on the edge of my property for a little midnight recon, I just upgraded my camera network, infrared, motion sensing, the whole works. Let them watch. I watched back. The real twist, though? She wasn't alone. One afternoon, at the cafe in town, a woman in a gold necklace and an iron blouse kept glancing over while pounding away on her phone. Later, found her car, a white Lexus with an HOA frame, waiting near my drive. That's when I started keeping a log. Every car, every letter, every crow that landed funny. Pretty soon it escalated. Like high school drama club escalated. There were break-ins. Cameras cut out for exactly 8 minutes. But Karen didn't know. I'd hidden a solar-powered backup. Caught 2 men, faces covered, jumping my fence at midnight, duffel bags stuffed with paint and screwdrivers, Karen's Lexus idling on the shoulder like a getaway. Right. The next morning, I found my truck tires slashed and red paint slopped across my barn. That was it. I handed it all to the sheriff. They called in the DA, and suddenly this wasn't just an annoying neighbor spat. It was criminal trespass, vandalism, conspiracy, you name it. But she wasn't finished. She forged a work order, sent a damn excavator up my driveway claiming it was community regrading. Poor contractor looked ready to puke when I showed him the actual deed and flashed my reserve officer badge. By then, Karen's own HOA board started to sweat. Vice president. Called, voice shaking, wanted to resolve things amicably. Amicably? After months of this circus? I let my attorney handle it. And just when I thought it couldn't get any more surreal, Karen doubled down. Press conference outside the HOA clubhouse. Yeah, she went full TV drama. Claimed I was a dangerous veteran, hostile to families. Said I was running a militia out of my barn. I watched the segment, then calmly emailed every bit of footage, break-ins, vandalism, Karen's car at the scene, direct to the DOJ and state investigators. Didn't take long. One evening, 3 agents and 2 deputies turned up at my door, suitcases full of warrants and a look that said, "We're here for the show." I handed over the evidence. The next day, federal agents hit Karen's house, found 3 drones, maps, surveillance logs, lists of non-standard behaviors. She had a whole file labeled "Milton must go." They arrested her outside the HOA office, live on local news, talk about poetic justice. After that, It was a landslide. More board members went down. Emails leaked. Funds traced to special projects. The HOA landed under court supervision. The county judge called me up to the stand, and I laid it all out. Paper trails, footage, timestamps. Karen looked small in her beige court scrubs. The verdict? Guilty on every count. Sentenced, barred from office. Assets frozen. Civil court followed, and suddenly HOA insurance was footing the bill for every fence slat and tire I had to replace. You'd think that would be the end, right? Nah. Karen tried an appeal, lost, and now she's serving time. Rumor is she's organizing the prison library and still complaining about visual clutter. The HOA got a new board, this one led by a retired judge who doesn't care about the color of my truck or the angle of my flag. A few months later, old-timers started coming by. Myra, who used to bake for the meetings, brought lemon bars and a letter, apologizing for not speaking up sooner. Now the neighborhood's different. Quieter, but friendlier. I grill sometimes with folks who used to be too nervous to wave. I even let the local kid help me patch a fence. Told him if he dropped a board, it was 20 push-ups. He grinned and dropped one on purpose. The thing is, I never wanted to be a crusader. I just wanted a patch of land and some quiet. But when someone tries to take your peace, your rights, you can't just fold and call it fate. You document, you stand your ground, you shine a light, and funny thing, once you do, all that rot and power games collapse in the daylight. So, yeah, maybe the moral is simple. Some people see a barn, a truck, a stubborn old guy, and think they can bully him out of his own story. Turns out, they picked the wrong guy. Now the flag snaps louder in the wind. The barn's clean, and the land's mine. Earned, defended, and never for sale. If you've ever tangled with a petty tyrant or stood up for your little patch of freedom, drop a comment. Was I right? Was I wrong? Where's the line between standing up and making peace? Hit like, share your story, and let's hear what justice really looks like in your neighborhood. I wish I could tell you that after all that chaos, things just settled down, birds singing, peace restored, and I finally got the quiet I paid for. But life doesn't work that way, not out here, and definitely not when you've shined a spotlight on the folks who prefer to do their damage in the shadows. Funny thing, once the headlines died down, and the HOA was picking up its own pieces, a whole new cast of characters started showing up, some friendlier than others, some with grudges, and a couple who made me wonder if trouble was just built into the soil out here. One morning, about a month after Karen went down, I was up early working on the east fence line when I spotted a guy leaning against my mailbox. Tall, mid-50s, cowboy hat, work boots, looked like he hadn't slept in a week. He held out a thermos and said, "You're Milton, right? I'm Clay. Heard you could use an extra hand." Turns out, Clay had his own battle with the HOA. Over on the North Ridge, years back, before Karen's reign. "They tried to run me off too," he said, his voice low, like it was still fresh. "Difference is, I didn't have your stubborn streak." We spent the day sinking fence posts and swapping stories. By sundown, we were 2 beers in and laughing about the time he got cited for excessive rooster noise by a city inspector who'd never set foot on a ranch. But not all the visitors were so harmless. The second act started when I found a new letter nailed, not mailed, nailed, to my barn door. This one wasn't from the HOA. It was from a group calling themselves the Neighborhood Preservation Coalition. No return address, just a list of concerns, the type of people I let visit, the negative attention brought to Hawk Ridge, and a warning about outsiders with an agenda. You ever get that feeling like the movie's about to shift into a new genre? Yeah, me too. I installed new lights, checked my locks twice, made sure the backup cameras were still streaming. You learn to trust your gut after years in internal affairs, and my gut told me this was a threat. Nicer words, maybe, but the same poison. Still, I wasn't about to let some anonymous busybody scare me off my own land. Instead, I got proactive, went to the next public county meeting, stood up, and told everyone exactly what had happened. Names and all, from Karen's campaign to the break-ins and the failed bulldozer stunt. Didn't matter if the room was friendly or not. I put the whole mess in the open. I moved here for peace. Not politics, I said, but I won't be chased out by anyone, committee or not. You could hear a pin drop when I finished. You know what I mean? What I didn't expect was the twist. A new neighbor. Just moved in down the county road. Single mom, late 30s, ex-Air Force mechanic, name's Jenna. First day, she rolls up in an old green Jeep with a dog in the back and a toolbox riding shotgun. She stopped by to borrow a post-hole digger, but we ended up talking for an hour about the way people treat outsiders out here, about small-town politics, about the cost of standing your ground. Her kid, a wiry little girl with a mess of red curls, handed me a note that said, "Thank you for fixing the fence." Sometimes the cavalry doesn't look like you'd expect. That's when the real fun started. I guess word got around that the problem property was a lost cause, so the coalition changed tactics. They started hassling Jenna. Petty stuff at first. Anonymous calls to animal control. About her dog barking, a bogus complaint about her garage being visually disruptive. One night, she came by my porch, angry and embarrassed. "I thought it was just me," she said. "But I see now. They're trying to make me the new you." That was the moment I realized. Fighting alone works when it's just you, but sometimes you've got to pull people together. So we did. Clay, Jenna, Myra with her lemon bars, a couple of old-timers who'd seen too much to be scared of a letterhead. We started a group. Not a committee, not some official club, just neighbors looking out for neighbors. We swapped phone numbers, set up a group chat, watched each other's places. If someone got a weird letter, we documented it. If a strange car lingered too long, we let each other know. It wasn't about winning anymore. It was about making sure no one else got steamrolled by the same machine. The tension didn't disappear. There were nights when I sat on the porch with a mug of coffee, listening to coyotes howl and wondering if another drone would show up, or if someone else would try their luck at intimidation. But something had changed. The fear wasn't in charge anymore. The community, or what was left of it, started to shift. People who'd never spoken before started dropping by, just to say hi, or to ask for advice about an odd letter or a new rule someone tried to enforce. We started sharing stories, laughing at the absurdity, backing each other up in county meetings. Heck, we even got together for a bonfire one night. No speeches, no agendas, just hot dogs, cheap beer, and kids chasing each other through the grass while the grown-ups traded stories about the old days. Of course, not everyone liked the new order. The coalition didn't just melt away. There were rumors of new plans, a push to redistrict the area, a last-ditch petition to ban certain vehicles or limit flag sizes. But this time, when they tried to slip new restrictions past the county board, there was a line of folks ready to speak out, loudly, publicly, on the record. There's a strength that comes from standing alone, but there's a whole different kind of power when you stand together, you know? It's not a fairy tale ending. Jenna still gets the occasional drive-by glare. Myra's lemon bars sometimes disappear off her porch, but nobody's mailbox gets nailed shut. Nobody's tires get slashed, and nobody's building gets paint-bombed anymore. We're not bulletproof out here, but we're a hell of a lot harder to scare. Looking back, it all feels strange. How a simple desire to be left alone turned into this rolling brawl with people who just couldn't mind their own business. But I'd do it again, because the only thing worse than fighting for your rights is letting them get chipped away by 1,000 petty tyrants with clipboards and too much time on their hands. So, if you're still listening, if you've ever felt like the world's closing in, like the bullies are multiplying, or you're the only sane one left, just remember, you're not. Sometimes all it takes is one stubborn old man, a single mom with a wrench, and a couple of friends with good stories and bad coffee to tip the balance. Anyway, I'll end it here. The sun's setting, the flags snapping in the breeze, and I've got a fence to finish. But before you go, drop your thoughts below. What would you have done different? Where's the line between minding your business and standing up for your neighbor? Hit like, share your own stories, and let's keep this conversation rolling, because peace, out here, is always earned, never given.